In this video, which is almost a supercut, it features a ton of different content in here, from armor choice to upgrades to driving both of the standard targets in this raid. I'm going to go over everything I'm doing and everything you need to know about my path to success in this raid. As the video says, I'm going to admit that I was wrong, sort of. The build you're seeing on screen now, plus the heavy weapon of course, was the original one I recommended at the start of the heavy cruiser build cycle. When we saw the VXP targets, this is what I showed you. I then made a few changes the first raid, or the first day of the raid. I didn't actually quite get up to fully armored on everything, only the flagship. I made a few changes that first day. I went ahead and kept on the Hyper 30. I do like its evade that it gives you. It is pretty helpful. I like Hyper 30. I want to keep that on there. The evade is the way to go in my opinion, and the bonus combat speed is nice. This compares to the acid diffusion shells a lot of you were recommending, and I tried those, although in a different way than most people actually did. Most people tended to, and again, I can't find it for some reason, probably because it's unlimited. A lot of people are recommending this one over Hyper 30. I tried this one instead of Full Focus Choke, because you can actually stack this one with Hyper 30 and use both of them on the same ship right here. So a few hours into the raid, I redeemed 4.5 million points on upgrade tokens and used one build token I had left, and maybe about 9 or 10 gold, don't tell anyone, to use acid diffusion shells on all my ships and had something built like this. I also did at that same time work towards changing out the armor to be much more balanced, which I have kept and I have liked. Now, this build worked great in terms of increasing combat speed. The problem was I lost too much damage from losing the full focus choke, even though I was actually doing a little bit better damage to the surrounding turrets without that negative spread. My damage output in total dropped too much in order to keep this build here. So I spent another 4.5 million points and, 10 hours worth of gold, which is about 20 gold, to change one of the specials on the flagship back to the full focus choke and what I had at the start of the raid. I guess the benefit of doing this is that I was able to finish out armor in my fleet. I didn't quite have the time to log into my shipyard quite so consistently and didn't have that fully finished, but at this point I've gone back to my original build I was running at the start of the raid, with a little bit better armor and, of course, a little bit higher upgrades as I've continued the entire raid. So this is now the build I'm running, and this is the approach I'm taking. Let's go ahead and jump to me earlier doing a level 100 target. I'll go over the build in a little bit more detail, talk about the upgrade level and how that matters, because spoiler alert, one of these upgrades is a complete corner trap and you shouldn't do it. This is the level 100 with the refreshed fleet. I am also using a steelhead screw for the plus 20% damage resist against everything. I do think, and have found after further testing, that this is better than the Sea Serpent's evade and turn speed crew. My understanding or belief is that because the accuracy on these enemy missile turrets is pretty low, and as accuracy gets lower, evade actually helps less. Now, driving the target is going to be very, very similar, with a slightly different approach to the drones. Starting out, of course, at the very bottom left, you always enter in the same spot, and then moving off to the right side here. I try and line up my ship, the enemy one right here, and the turret platform, to pull the ship away here before everything starts to surface, and once it starts firing, you need to stay moving here, try and avoid any corrosive damage at all by staying moving. Those red projectiles you were seeing were missing. Now, the advantage to having this turret stay submerged is you can get close to it, and it doesn't have any chance to fire any volleys at you before you get close. Like I did mention in my other video, you can't actually kill it till it's above water, so you're still taking several shots from this, so it doesn't really matter too much, but you might save, 1 or 2 shots. Next up, you're going to want to go really slowly. Make sure you press the down button and outrange all of these turrets here and really just kill them. Go ahead and sweep off the extra buildings here, kill them so that you don't have to come back for them later, or so that they don't distract you more likely. Now, the approach for these missile ships, these drone ships, the Phantom Gluttonies, is to get close to them, stop, and wait until the corrosive pellets, which are the red ones actually, maybe they're penetrative, maybe they're corrosive, I'm not sure. Little red pellets, I believe they do splash damage. You want to get close, wait till those are actually being shot at you, and then start moving. It is pretty tricky and does take just a little bit of time in here to actually start moving, but you can manage to save yourself a little bit of time with those. Next up, we're going to shift click on this first turret and drive by kill this one completely. Then turn around from this other one at the exact right moment when it has just fired and just landed, so you're not taking any extra damage. If you do it right or get lucky on crits, you are able to kill the entire turret in one shot here. It is important to understand that you need to shift click this first one and kill it, depending on your upgrade level, etc., which by the way I'll discuss more at the end of the video. You need to make sure you're killing this one completely so you can time the turnaround on one turret a lot easier than you can two. The same general approach is what we're using for these two Phantom Gluttonies up here as the last one, except a little bit of circling in a smaller area is what we're going to go for. I like to aim for this right one first, going to go ahead and get close to this thing as soon as those red pellets are firing, start turning in circles here, and that helps out a lot, as you can see. Now it is pretty tricky, you are going to take some damage here, these drones are going to get some shots off at you because your splash is not big enough to kill everything from both these ships when they're far away, so you are noticing there is some damage across my fleet right here. Now for this normal ship, we're going to move into the right and then you off to the left here like so. Just to avoid any extra damage, try and stay moving if at all possible. Avoiding sharp turns is good, but there's not really a lot you can do with that one. Now, just go ahead and kill each of the titanium generators. They all go down pretty easily here, and the same approach to these guys. Target this ship, and then move off to the left here, hugging this wall. That should let you avoid all the damage, and try to not get in range of this guy. I do again like that micro pause, as I've been calling it. You can almost just stop and shoot at things, but then the red pellets are fired at you. Once that's down, you can engage the close Phantom Gluttony right here. That's dead, and you are out of range of this big turret, and the small ones as well. Go ahead and get close to this small turret right here while trying to stay off on the bottom side here so this guy is not hitting you. Then move close and grab that big turret. Stay at max range out of this small one. Go ahead and turn if you need to, and that's pretty much the target down. I did get very, very close to taking damage from that last one. It's not a big deal if it does shoot at you, just keep moving. It happens to me very frequently when I'm doing this target. In general, I think the hardest part of this target is doing enough damage to really make sure you're killing the drones. With that said, let's take a look at the battle report, the damage, and the build, and of course we'll jump into the 101 right after. In terms of damage taken, it is a split corrosive and penetrative. More penetrative damage was taken. I originally said that Sea Serpents helps out more for this one. And again, I think that the accuracy is low enough on these enemy turrets that pure resist will be better than the evade. In terms of damage taken, which is the important number, this is 12 minutes and 52 seconds, which is excellent. As we jump into the 101, we're going to take a pause and look at the build and the damage taken on each ship dependent on their upgrade level. If I had more extra build tokens and more armor, I'd probably go for 3 missile, if not 4 missile, on the flagship alone. That does seem to get targeted a little bit more often. I also do have a mix of the limited and unlimited weapons on this fleet, so you may have noticed a little bit of that, and of course I do have the heavy on for all of these different ships. Now, the build I'm using again is the full focus choke instead of the acid diffusion shells. I like the one it's at right now, and as you're noticing in these targets, things are dying much, much faster. I can definitely feel that from my end. The ships are just a little bit slower, but it's definitely worth it because you're killing the target much more quickly, even if the damage is only reduced a little bit in terms of total damage taken. Now, this is upgraded to U2 is 3 minutes and 26 seconds damage, so I do think it is pretty interesting to check my other U2 ship and see that that is at 3 minutes and 49 seconds damage with the same exact build, etc., which means that it is missiles that are randomly targeting this one and doing more damage to it. In terms of the other ship that is at U3 you saw there, that is also 3 minutes 26 seconds, the same exact stats as the flag. Now, in my opinion, U3 is a pretty useless upgrade. You can see the only thing you get from U3 is +2 multi-shot. And this is when you already have a 4 multi-shot on the hull, which is pretty low. So you're not really getting a big benefit here. If you add on the initial 4 multi-shot, you're going from 8 to 10, which is a roughly 20-25% increase in damage, which is not great. It is a pure 25% increase in damage dealt, but you have no survival, no evade, no combat speed, nothing. U3 is really not worth it in terms of the upgrade level, at least to me. U2 is definitely where it's at. It does help out a lot here with the evade, with the survival, and the corrosive damage of plus 50%. I mean, the U2 has a much better result than the U1. I should mention that the corrosive damage is a little bit weird in terms of how it works. When you have a ship like the heavy cruiser that has a base corrosive damage of 400, the U2 upgrade level doesn't make that 400 go like it normally would to 600. Well, it's not quite that simple, but it really just changes the base value from 400 to 450. So it's a 1/8 increase. So U3 is still better than U2 in terms of pure damage, in terms of the upgrade, but because of the other benefits you get from U2 and, in my opinion, defense being more helpful than offense, it's really not worth it. So you did notice that my U1, or my U2 flagship, excuse me, and my U2 ship, my U3 ship all took roughly the same amount of damage. Now, in terms of X1, that helps out a ton, almost a third in terms of the damage reduction dealt. You can see that's 2 minutes damage right here on this ship compared to 3 minutes 26 seconds, 3 minutes 40 something on the other ships. The X1 is helpful because it does give you this combat speed buff, which increases the speed of all your hulls by 3%. So one ship's not going to speed off in front of the others. We have seen it happen before, so it is a worthwhile question to ask. And the penetrative corrosive survival number is big enough it does start to matter. I haven't done the exact calculations on that, but it is beneficial, and X1 is very, very helpful. By the end of the first raid, I will have 2 ships up to X1 because we have 10 days of upgrade tokens, plus the 5 in the TLC and the 1 in pillage. That's enough for me to get 2 ships up to X1. The 101 is a harder target, at least for me, to get under instant map repair repeatably. I do like to enter now at the bottom left of the target. It does matter where you come in. I was previously showing in off on the very bottom right side. I've also tried the top left a few times, and interestingly, before we get started, I will mention that there are a few people having luck with some swallowtails to do some chaining. One place I've seen is you kill this regular vulture missile turret and then chain off of these other ones and kill this platform. I don't find that to be too impactful, especially not that platform. In any case, the route I'm going to take involves starting out here, rushing towards the left side, moving across the bottom of the target, steering clear of this heavy missile right here, so steer around this guy, up the rest of the target, killing these turrets, looping back for the Stormbringers. You do want to try and grab them early if possible, and then continuing to finish out the target clockwise. Depending on how the start goes, I also try and grab a little bit of this turret cluster if possible. Let's go ahead and get to this and then zoom in so you can see that a little bit more clearly. Grabbing the Vulture missile, and then let's target the heavy if possible. The Stormbringer missiles are shooting at me, which is not great, so go ahead and stay moving here. If you don't take some time explaining what you're going to do, you can reduce a little bit of the damage taken there. You did notice I stopped right there, which is pretty risky. I don't usually do that, but I did want to see if I could manage to get that last corrosive turret with no extra damage. Now, we are looping around this heavy missile turret. I try and call this one the heavy and the other one the vulture. Go ahead and kill this one from pretty far back. You want to make sure you're not too close to those ships because they do hurt you a little bit, and I do like to kill the regular turrets first. These 4 of them right here, loop away so you don't trigger them when you come in for the second set here. I do like to kill those first before anything else in the target. And I will mention that in most cases it is better to drive the target zoomed out because you can see the Stormbringers. I just am trying to give you a little bit better of a view of what I'm doing. Now go ahead and loop in and grab those few ships there. If you're lucky and drive the target well, you can manage to kill all 3 of them there in the same sort of volley or condition. Make sure you stay moving against those because there are some red corrosive pellets mixed in there with the regular ones. Let's go ahead and target the Vulture missile, kill that one a few shots, and then the large heavy turret, and then sort of shift click on the corrosive turret, try and stay at max range here. It is pretty tricky to grab that with no damage every single time. I do manage to grab it most times consistently now if you try and drive pretty well and are okay with doubling back here, which is only okay when you have just seen these Stormbringers land and you know they're not coming for you again. Now let's try ahead and sort of pivot off to the side here, make sure we're not getting too close to the ship until we're ready. We can come back and kill the Vulture and the heavy missile right here, and then loop in towards the Stormbringers in the center of the target. Now these ones are a bit rude in my opinion, because there is no way to get inside the minimum range very quickly. You can be at your max range and still be firing at them, which I don't like. I wish Kixeye would change that and increase their minimum range in this target. Now, you can go a little bit more slowly now. You can stop here and make sure you have plenty of time to outrange this last corrosive turret on this platform, but you really do have to only stay moving against the large corrosive turrets. Just make sure you are hovering over and or shift clicking the regular heavy turrets, because those are really important so you don't go into range of them. If you go into range of heavy turrets, you take more damage and you don't want to take more damage. Once the heavy and regular are down, you can target the ship, get it triggered off here, and pull things away. Start moving in an S shape while you're waiting for everything to get close to you. Kill the drones, do a little bit of splash damage to everything else here, and then when all these three are clustered up and coming towards you, they all die really, really nicely. Now let's go ahead and target the corrosive turret. Again, stop and stay at max range on those ones. The other two heavies are pretty easy to take out here. They're facing the wrong way. The second one is even easier to take out than the first one. It's the complete wrong direction. Once those two are dead, you can go ahead and target the rest of the things in here. I like to loop in and grab these two missiles and then the big corrosive one and finish with the ship. Kixeye did fix a bug after I reported it about 4 or 5 times, where the target would end early with a large turret or a ship still left in it, and it would underpay you in terms of points. By the way, I have noticed some people killing parts of the target, which does help them. You get some points for no damage in the 100 and the 101. It's an interesting strategy if you would like to try yourself. I do like the target completion bonus and really want to kill the entire thing. There is the target. Let's go ahead and check the battle report as well as the damage on each ship by upgrade level in a little bit more detail. In terms of the damage report, it is almost exactly even in terms of corrosive and penetrative. I am again running steelheads. This does help out against all forms of damage in the target rather than only the evade based damage. In terms of the total repair time, we are at 21 minutes, which is not instant based repair. I could try this a few times and just upload only the best video, like has been done out there by other people, but I'm really trying to show you a real accurate, good condition in control run. Let's check the damage on each ship and go over the build and upgrade levels one more time. In terms of what's taking the least damage, you'll notice that 21 minutes divided by 4. Again, I'm running 4 strong ships as opposed to 5 weak ones. The flagship does have a ton of damage on this, at least comparatively, at nearly 8 minutes. You look at the X1 ship, and that is down to 3 minutes and 20 seconds, whereas the regular U2 and U3 ships are going to be at 5 minutes 52 seconds, and at 4 minutes and 14 seconds. So again, a little bit of variability on these things, depending on what got shot at by when, if it evaded, if it missed, if not. But in general, you are seeing that the X1 upgrade level and the U2 upgrade level are very helpful. I do like to do this raid, doing 3 minutes of repair, 50 seconds of repair, and instant repairing for 5 minutes across all 4 ships. I think that is the best way to approach raids like this one. Where things are, once you have the ships up to U2, a few of them, X1, a few of them, things do get pretty easy. I do tend to auto the 100 and just do, 5, 6 of those until my fleet dies, and then drive the 101s when I've got time, and that does stack up and will get me my 50 million points or so that I'm going for. If you do have any questions, go ahead and let me know. I wanted to make sure that you all got a very highly produced, very highly polished video out this right here. Those first 2 I put out had pretty low audio quality. I think my microphone just didn't quite plug in correctly. In any case, wanted to make sure that I gave you a full video with a full explanation of the upgrade levels, the crews, and why, again, I did that build change, going for the full focus choke back on here again, because the damage of this one is much more impactful. The time to kill drops dramatically compared to the slightly higher combat speed of the Acid Diffusion shells. Again, I still do like the Hyper 30 evade over the Acid Diffusion shells reload. I'm going to keep that on there as I work to getting a few other ships upgraded and the 5th one built with the tokens from that TLC. If you do have any questions, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. I will, of course, update my builds document with the changes, or rather versions, in this video. With that said, thank you so much to everyone whose name appears on screen now, and until next time, as always, this is Derpy signing out, helping you be a better pirate.